We are live. We are live. Hello, 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 everybody. I would love to welcome you back to my channel. I am Carmel Jean-Francois, your girl out of New York City, owner, founder, president of C Fit Coaching. And I would love to introduce you to my friend Keondra. But before I do that, I just want to preface it by saying Keondra, whom I affectionately refer to as Keke. I met her. We were working on a project together. We kept in touch. She interviewed me on a couple of times, right, Kiki? On her Facebook channel. And I know that she's been dealing with some conditions that she does not mind talking about. I said, would you mind coming onto my channel and letting everybody know how you deal with it? Now, Keondra is very faith based, and I just love that about her. Her spirituality comes through in everything that she says and does, and even in the way she shines and lights up the room. I love being in her presence because she's just so positive, and it's beautiful to see. And you have what, three daughters, Keondra? And I think
Three biological daughters and I adopted two. Yeah.
that's such a beautiful thing to pass on to your girls because of the way you shine and the measures you've been taking to ensure that your health is where you need it to be. Now, Keondra, I understand that you were diagnosed with lupus, but that's all I pretty much know. I want to know how life was before the diagnosis, what happened when you found out, and how your life has changed. Now, as you speak, I might interrupt and ask some questions, but I want you to just feel comfortable. Tell us as much or as little as you care to. And yeah, tell us about this lupus. First of all, I some people don't even know what lupus is. I looked it up real quick, but what is lupus? And then we can take it from there. You want to do it that way?
Sure. So
Okay.
lupus is an autoimmune disorder, and which they normally call it is known as the invisible disease because you do not look like what you are going through. And what happens is your immune system starts to attack your healthy organs in your body. Your immune system starts to attack your body as if it's a foreign object. And you can lose your sight, you can lose your weight. It affects your skin. It affects everything because our immune system is throughout our body. So that means that the kind that I have, there's three different kinds, but the kind that I have is systematic. And with systematic, it attacks your organs, your healthy organs, and you start. I when I first got sick, I went upstairs. I will never forget it. I had got off work, and life before this, let me just say, life before this, if you had told me this would be my life now, I would never have believed it. I was working at a Fortune 500 company. I was married, and to what I thought I was at the peak of my career. I
Mhm.
had my kids. I had all three kids. My daughter was about 2 years. My youngest was about two, and my oldest was about 7 or 8. And one day I got off work, and I'll never forget. My husband was in the kitchen cooking spaghetti, and I said, "I'm not eating. I feel like, I feel like I got the flu." And I want to, because you always speak on self-care. I want people to understand where I was when I say I thought I was at the peak of my life. I was overexerting myself. I was waking up at 6 o'clock every morning, top of the day, 5 or 6 o'clock every morning. And then I would get up, I would get my kids ready for school, I would take them all to school, then I would get ready for work.
Mhm.
Then I would go to work and do my job. Then I would get off of work. Then I would go to their softball games or whatever, cheerleading or whatever they had. Then I would go to the store and get something to cook. And then I would get home and cook. And then I would stay up and do my homework and whatever things that I had to do that I was not able to do because I was working, my little personal things that I need to do. And then I would stay up until my husband got off, because he got off at 11, 11:30 before he came home. I would always make it a habit to see him and just at least know how his day went, so we stay connected. And so I made that a priority. But as I stated, the type of work I was doing was very, very, very stressful. Very stressful. But just I made little time for myself. I didn't tell you anything I did for myself in that schedule. I told you
Yeah.
everything about what I did for everyone else. And
Yeah.
so that's where we find ourselves. So of course I wasn't taking care of my body at that time. It started, like I said, bringing you guys back. I went upstairs. I went upstairs and I I didn't come back down those steps. I did not. I was not able to come back down. If I came down those steps, I had to have help. I could not catch my breath.
Hmm.
My skin was very flaky. I had like big lesions on my face. My hair came out. I had big lesions on my chest and my back, and they were like flaky. Looked like
Did
my
that
skin
happen
was like,
suddenly?
yeah. It happened suddenly. It felt like these burns were rubbing up and down my body, like up and down my body. I remember getting up one morning. I remember getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I remember going downstairs and laying on the sofa. And I laid on the sofa in my husband's man cave, and nobody could hear me because that room was all concrete. And I just screamed to the top of my lungs. I just screamed as hard as I can because I was just in so much pain. I was going to the emergency room for a shot every day, and they were giving me morphine and everything, and nothing worked. And so, a lot of times we think, if I get sick, I'm gonna go to the doctor. They're gonna give me a pill, they give me a shot, and I'm better. But what are you gonna
Yeah.
do when what they have does not work? Because you will find, God forbid that you find yourself in that position, because there's a lot of things that medicine has not been able to tap into. And there's a lot of things that we can do to better position our bodies for success. And that's what I get the privilege to do, is help women understand how important we are, and how if we start taking over control over our health, how it will trickle down in every aspect of our life. We will be better for our kids. We will be stronger. We will be wiser. There will be no brain fog. We'll be sharper. We will be able to pour into our husband and position them as the kings in the home, and allow them to continue to go out and do greater things, because we have the strength to strengthen them. But
Yes.
when we don't have anything to give out, we're only giving people fragments of ourselves, and so the puzzle continues to just dissipate
Oh,
throughout.
I felt everything you said. I felt everything you said. So about how many years ago was this that you was diagnosed with this condition?
2014, I was diagnosed.
2014.
2014, and I want people to understand that it takes the average person 10 years, because there's to get a diagnosis, because there's no exact test that can be done at this time.
Okay, so how did they figure out it was lupus? Like what did they see? How did they see it? How did they come with that diagnosis if it's
Well, you
so
have
hard?
to have, they do a blood test where they test your ANA, but that could be elevated. It's
When
really
you
not
say
a big.
ANA, what do you mean by ANA?
Um, it's where they test, like they go in, they do blood work, and they're testing certain levels to see
Okay.
if your immune system is attacking you.
Okay.
So they will go in and they'll do that test on you. But that is, they still can't give you a diagnosis, because you have to have, it's like a three, you have to have three of the symptoms on the chart. And lupus is a thing that has its own mind. You may have lesions one day and go to the dermatologist, and then they go away, and then 3 weeks ago you overexerted yourself, and now you can't hardly breathe. You don't know why. You don't know what's going on. Your eyes swelling up, nose, lip, you don't know what's going. That's how sporadic the breakouts are. So
And then it's different for everybody, you said.
it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody, because that's what makes it so hard to cure
Mm,
and so hard to control, because what may work for you may not work for me. But above all, the best thing we can do is control our diets and
mhm.
control our level of stress. That
So
is the best. Mhm.
so tell me, and that goes, it's incredible because that pretty much goes across the board for everything that we do, right? Everybody's always talking about minimalizing stress and watching what we're eating. But for somebody who's diagnosed with, somebody who's ill, somebody who is suffering from some type of chronic condition, that's even more important than anything else, right? Because you cannot function. So, what are some of the things that once you learn this about this condition, and even with the medication that you were receiving and the morphine and all of this, and you're still in pain, how did you come to learn that if I minimize my stress and I eat better, I will feel better? How did that come up for you?
For me, I started doing my own research on my own. I remember it just like it was yesterday. I remember looking at my mom and saying, "Mama, these people gonna let me die. These people gonna let me die. My kids gonna have to bury me if I don't do something. They're gonna let me die." And I remember my first appointment that I scheduled at the Mayo Clinic. I stood up. I stood up. I started doing my research. I started reading. I started questioning the doctors. I came in with my agenda ready, and I'm interviewing you. I want you to know what's going on. I started saying no to people. I had to be okay with saying no. People not liking me. I can't show up at everything. I will do my best, but if I don't show up, love me enough to know that I just cannot be there. It's not bad. It's not that I don't love you. It's just that I cannot give to you right now. But if you allow me to come back and be whole, I will be able to deal with you, come and visit you at another event. I promise you that. So it starts with me taking authority over my life and not just just existing.
Mhm, mhm. And not existing for other people
And
and
not
their
existing
existence.
for other people. I tell you, I never forget when I started working at my job and I had just got a new supervisor, and he pulled me to the side, and he asked me a very simple question, and it was, so tell me about yourself. What you like to do? And I remember him turning around telling the team, like, I don't think she want to talk to me. And I was just stuck because I was like, all I had no idea. I had nothing. I had nothing. My whole life was tied up in my kids, my mama, my duties at the church, my duties as my grandparents, my duties with my kids, my sister, my brother, my auntie. I did not know who Keondra was. I didn't know what she liked to do anymore.
Mm. Isn't that something? Hi, the nurse practitioner said anti-nuclear antibody. I guess that's what the new she's so Dr. J. Hey Dr. J, thanks for joining us tonight and commenting. And she also says very, very insidious disease. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So now you see, like, so you notice that you are losing yourself. You don't know who Keondra is. How did you get yourself back?
Life has a funny way of playing a game on you. I tell you, I realized, I never forget, my daughter was in her therapy meeting, and her doctor called me in and he said, Mama, let me tell you what's wrong with baby girl. She walks around all day thinking you're gonna die. Because I was barely getting by. And I look at some of the videos now, I was barely getting by.
Mhm, mhm.
Uh, but I was pretty much immobile. I really couldn't get around. I couldn't go, like, just going to the restroom was, I didn't look like it, but just going to I didn't look like I weighed 600 pounds, but with the weight and the lupus, I felt like I weighed 700 pounds. I weighed half of that, but it felt like I weighed 700 pounds because every move I take, I had to pay for it. I knew I was taking that move. My body was letting me know, girl, you got too much going on. Every step I've
Mm.
made.
Mhm.
And I said, well, God, my behaviors are going to live on into with my children. If I don't get it right, if I give up and if I leave now, I'm going to leave these habits with my children. I can't do that. That's not fair.
Wow.
And
Wow.
now, so I got back in the game. I warming up. I warming up. And I started. I knew I had already done the research. I knew how to take I knew what I needed to do. I just was in a position and a mindset that I had given up. Didn't
Mhm.
know I had given up, but I had
Mhm.
completely checked out. The lights were on, but nobody was at home. And
Okay.
that's true. That's real.
Right, right. So then for your girls, you decided that you're not going to leave them and not with these habits. You cleaned up the habits. And when I say habits, what do you mean? Self-care, nutrition, exercise, what?
Nutrition. My friend introduced me to a product, and it was an all natural product. She knew about my health conditions, and and it was I looked at my daughter. My daughter was going through stuff at school, and she was getting very insecure about her weight.
Okay.
Um, and I just felt so responsible.
Mhm.
I felt so responsible, and my dad and even the two daughters the girls that I said I adopted, those are my biological sisters because my dad died from congested heart failure at 54 years old.
Wow, that's young.
And, you know, even before I was officially diagnosed with lupus, I struggled. I had gestational diabetes, so that made me more it made it very easy for me to be a diabetic, later on down the line. And I knew that. And I remember giving myself injections in my stomach. I remember pricking my finger. I hated that. I did not like that. My dad was also a diabetic. So I felt like I had to make better decisions. And so
Mhm.
I know where I was mentally. I knew I wasn't where I wanted to be, but I knew I had to start somewhere.
And so you started what? So you started with this product? Is that where you started? And then
That's where I
I know
started.
that you were doing your research and you started with the product and you started seeing what kind of changes did you start seeing? Oh, by the way, Dr. J, the nurse practitioner, she added lupus doesn't attack any one person the same way. And that's why it's so hard to diagnose, which is what you were saying in the beginning.
It is so, and I have
So
a
what,
kid.
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was asking, what did you see start changing when you started with this product and when you started changing, when you started feeling better? What was it? Was it a combination of things? What was happening?
It was a combination of things because started being I started being more in control of what my thoughts were. I
Okay.
started, it definitely started with the spiritual journey because I became more aware of what I was doing to myself and in every mind, body, and soul, like what I was doing to myself. And I was thinking God didn't like me. Meanwhile, I don't like me. That's the problem. I don't like me. And that's where that's where it's at. And that's where the problem really fell. Where the blame really should have been.
So
But
is this where faith pretty much took over? Faith
faith
in God and
definitely took over.
yeah. So how did that play a part in your healing process?
Because no matter what it looked like, I knew what it was going to be.
And where
And
was that
I
going to be?
I knew what it was going to be. And I knew that God's promises were not going to lead me astray. I knew what He spoke over my life. I knew what He showed me. And I don't care if I have to tear down the Eiffel Tower itself. I'm going to get what He showed me
Yeah.
on this universe. And in that order. because I know that he's not a God that he should lie to me. He wouldn't tell me these things. And so regardless of what happens in this world, because I know I'm not made of this world. So whatever happens on this earth, I have to know what my purpose is and stay positioned in that. And I got to keep my posture upright and continue to allow God to feed me so that I am able to go out and do the things that I want to do that are given birth, my birthrights, you know?
Yes. Yes, yes. Yeah. So were you of all this faith before your diagnosis, or did you come to it, or did it just strengthen it? How did that all play?
The reason why I say it's such a funny thing, God has such a sense of humor. I remember I had just got promoted on my job, and I remember I was in my car and I felt myself drifting from God, questioning my faith, questioning God, questioning the world, questioning everything. And I said, God, please, whatever you do, don't take your love away from me. Please make me more like you. Well, nothing in this world will get you closer to God than pain. Nothing in this is so funny. We always ask for that, but nothing in this world will get you closer to God than pain.
I felt that, yeah.
If I had never had lupus, I cannot tell you that you would be speaking to me right now. I'm
Mm,
positive you would not have been. I'm positive of that.
okay, okay.
But I just took control of my life. I got my power back.
Okay.
And as I started scheduling my meal, how I should eat, what times I should take care of myself, and put in a schedule for me, I started finding myself, oh my girl, I like pearls. I forgot I like pearls. I like pearls. You know, I like jewelry. I want to go get my hair done.
Yes.
That. Oh
You
my
found
goodness.
yourself again. Yes.
I want to
Wow.
laugh and have fun with my girls again. So yeah, it's just like going through this new life. I got a new body to go with my new
That's
look on
beautiful.
life.
So, but okay, so I know that you had lost faith and then you gained faith again, and you know that God was wanted you to see what He promised you. But how, at what point, or how did you come to learn? You said that you were meal prepping, you were eating right, you lost all this weight. Where did all that fit in? How did you come to do all of that? Were you working with somebody, a professional? Did you do your own research and just kind of like start taking all these steps for yourself? Like, how did that all come to be?
Well, I had already done. I waited till it was time for me to graduate. I was already a pre-nursing student, and I changed my degree to business administration. I told y'all I used to live for other people, but I so that was one step that I made when I wanted to be, I was trying to take my power. And but I had already done my research, and then I started getting my NASA, my nutrition certification,
Mhm.
because I just wanted to have that little paperwork. I don't know if it's just that extra credibility, but I wanted to have that. And then I started seeing so many people lives change, people losing weight. I had one woman,
So
um,
when you said you started seeing people, what, you started working with clients?
I
I'm
started
curious.
with,
I'm curious to know what your, like, doctor, the nurse practitioner is asking, what was your diet like, and did you exercise? I'm curious to know, how did you know what to eat? What was your diet like? What made you say, I'm going to eat this versus this? And were you implementing exercise? How much or how little?
okay, so I changed my diet. I cut out sweets. I cut complete sodas completely out. I started drinking more water. I always prayed on my water before I drink it. I created a routine for myself that I would be able to obtain, and created a schedule, a block of time that I could eat every day, and then a block of time that I could not eat. And during that time, I wanted to be doing a lot of mindset manifestation training, looking at Bob Proctor, reading, Good Morning Holy Spirit, books that are going to feed my mind. Um,
Mhm.
and being in the right places with people that want to see me win, being connected to people that want to see me win, because it's something about the connections. I don't care, you can have the information, but if you're not connected, you will miss out. And so that played a big part, having the right people in place, having a conversation with my family, letting them know this is what I'm doing. I need you guys to support me on this, because I have supported you guys. And even if I didn't, I love you, and this is how I need you to love me right now. This is what I need for me so that I could do more for you.
That
And
is so important.
yeah, so yeah, I increased my water intake a lot. And the funniest things is, with me changing my life, I never made anybody in my household adapt to my lifestyle, but they just did. They just did. Because as women, we are the healers in the home.
Mm, yes, yes, yes. You're the
And
nurturers, and they're gonna follow your lead. Yeah, yeah. And then it's a beautiful thing that you said that you did discuss it with them. So they see that you are healing yourself through food, or you're going through these, you're making these conditions and these symptoms less severe, and you're actually healing.
yeah,
And they see it. So they know it wasn't bad. So they're gonna follow your lead. So that's a beautiful thing. And you're leading by example. And so they're watching
yeah, exactly. And I did, with my doctor's permission, I came off a lot of my medication.
that.
I was kind of over medicated a little bit. So I came off of a lot of my medication. I was on over 21 prescriptions. So I came off a lot of my medicine. During my first year, I came off my high blood pressure medicine. I never make any medical claims. I always tell everyone to always consult your physician. That
Yeah.
is who's in charge of your
Yeah.
care. And
I'm
you
happy
should
to hear
never
that.
just take yourself off of any medication without your physician's
Yeah.
permission.
Mhm.
And so
100%.
that's how I was able to come off of all these medications that I was on. And my physician, I use CBD. My physician knows that I'm using CBD, knows that I'm using turmeric. He actually suggests it. He knows what the things that I'm adding to my diet. He knows I'm doing more leafy vegetables.
Mhm.
There's sometimes with lupus and any kind of illness that is pretty much like a lot of inflammation. Certain
Mhm.
vegetables like cabbages, I have to watch my with cabbages, tuna. I have to watch that because it will initiate a flare. You know,
Okay.
so it's just being conscious of those things, and eating in a way that I can still enjoy foods. I still have my enjoyment, but I still live a good life.
Oh, I
But
love that you said that. I'm enjoying my food and I still live a good life. So many people feel like with the diagnosis, it's the end of life. Now I can't enjoy anything, and this is it as I know it. So it's beautiful that you just said that. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Yeah. Keondra, I think we're about the time where we're gonna wrap it up. You said a lot from what you were doing before to now what you're doing. So just to understand, you have not cured. Lupus is not something that you can cure from, right? You can cure
right.
yourself from, but it is something where you can keep the symptoms at bay through diet and exercise, self-care, having faith, right? Um, is there anything that you would like to share to the listeners or everybody who's watching regarding lupus or chronic illness or an autoimmune disease in and of itself. Is there anything that you could share with them for those who don't have that faith, who have lost the hope, who are on all these medications and don't see the light at the end of the tunnel? Is there anything that some words of hope, something that you can offer them to let them know that number one, they're not alone, and number two, there is hope?
I would tell them to stand and stand firmly to what you know to be true. And what you know to be true is that God is with you and He does love you. And if you have enough strength to reach up and look up and ask for help, then you can get up. And I implore you right now to get up. And I tell you right now that God can do anything but fail. And I'm telling you that you have that lupus is not your testimony. It's not your
Mm,
story. It's just a part of
mm,
it's a part that plays a part to in showing that what God can do in your life. You're just stuck in a part of the process. Don't you stop. Don't you stop. Don't you quit. Get
mm.
up and keep going. You just stuck in a process. That's all. You delayed, but you're not denied. Get up. If you can look up, you can get up. Get up.
Ooh, I got goosebumps everywhere. Thank you for that. I felt it. I felt everything you said. Thank you. Kiki, thank you. Thank you for gracing my page, my channel with this. Yeah, girl.
Girl, you know that I love you.
I loved having you here. I love that I've met you and that we've had this time together to get to know each other a little bit better. I did not know this side of you. I know the talented makeup artist. I know the girl that's, you grinding to make that money. And I know you as somebody who cares about what she eats and her fitness. But I didn't know this side of you. So I said, let me take this angle. So I do appreciate you coming through authentically to discuss this with me, even though we had not discussed it prior. I was just like, this is what I want to talk about. And you were like, I got you. So I want to say thank you again. So let us know very quickly what it is that you do, because you do a few things. You're kind of like amazing. And I love that about you. So let everybody know what you do and where we can find you.
So I'm a professional makeup artist. You can find me on all social media platforms at Lupus by Keke. But I beat faces and I also slim waisted. So I help women find themselves again. I am a transformation specialist. We help you find yourself and create a new life, one that you can keep up and one that you can truly find happiness in. And that's all I want for everybody, to find your happiness. Everyone's happiness doesn't look the same, but it is there and it's
It's yours.
yours.
It is yours. Just
It
go
is
claim
yours.
it.
It
Go
was
get it.
already given to you. It's your birthright.
I love that. I've said that many times before. It is our birthright. So, Kiki, thanks again for joining us. I'm going to say good night. And thank you, everybody who's watching. The nurse practitioner, thank you for watching. And with that, Kiki, God bless you. Thank you again. And have a good night.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.